Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural webinar on the new Doctor of Ministry program here at the General Theological Seminary. I'm Dr. Michael DeLashmutt. I'm the Academic Dean at General, and over the next 30 minutes or so, I am going to cover some information about the new Doctor of Ministry program that we've been developing here, and open up some time afterward for some questions and allow you to wonder a bit about this new degree program. Let me give you a quick overview of the day. I promise it won't take the whole day. It should only take about 30 minutes. And and I should also let you know that feel free to use the chat feature of Zoom should you have any questions. That's currently being moderated, and any technical issues can be addressed in chat as well. So what are we going to do over the next 30 minutes? Well, I hope to answer some common questions, some frequently asked questions that folks have about our new Doctor of Ministry program. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about what kind of program it is. And as we get into that, we're also going to discuss the ways in which students will learn on the program. We'll dive into some details about the kinds of courses that will be offered in the program, and who the faculty will be that's teaching on the program, and what you can expect when you come to the seminary for our intensive courses, when those will be, and lastly, roughly what the program should cost each student. To begin with, I want to frame this as something that's new and something that's different. This is a different kind of program that we're offering here, and it involves a different way of learning, and new faculty are being brought on board to teach some of the modules, and it's an entirely new curriculum as well. So this is really an exciting opportunity for you to get onto the ground floor of something brand new that we're offering here at the seminary. So what do we mean by a new kind of program? The Doctor of Ministry program is oriented toward practitioners who are currently engaged in some kind of public Christian ministry, usually in a parish context. So the students who are participating in this program have commitments outside of the classroom that are very real and very significant. They have contexts that raise pressing questions. They're engaged in real world ministry, and so they need a program that is designed to fit within their busy lives, and that provides them with the kinds of information that will deepen and improve ministry as they're experiencing it currently in their current ministry setting. So it's a different way of learning than perhaps you would have learned in your initial theological education, and it involves learning more actively, more dynamically, and in the context of a cohort. We've developed 3 new models of learning, or we're implementing 3 new methodologies for learning that will be characteristic of this new degree program. The first is we're using a number of project-based learning methodologies to help students to engage in learning that reflects the needs of their particular ministry setting, so that all of the assignments that you do for this degree program, whether it's the readings or short assignments that might be part of individual modules, all of this contributes to the kinds of issues that you'll be facing in your ministry context. Project-based learning is built on 4 key principles that the projects that students engage in seek to creatively answer problems creatively answer a pressing question that emerges in your ministry setting. These projects are high risk, which means that they're not purely theoretical, but they respond to things that are going on in your vocation currently. To respond to these problems and to engage in these projects, it requires a certain degree of skill. And so because this is a doctoral program, it assumes that you're bringing in with you a number of the skills that you need to think through and solve some of the problems that are raised in your setting that the projects will address. And finally, because this is an advanced theological degree program, these projects will demonstrate significant concern for the content of theology. And this might be a good point to speak very briefly to the difference between a Doctor of Ministry degree and, say, a research doctorate like a THD or a PhD. A Doctor of Ministry involves the high levels of scholarship and research and academic rigor in the same way that a PhD or a THD program would. But what differentiates the two programs really is the project-based orientation of the Doctor of Ministry. A Doctor of Ministry helps you to develop a project that will address issues in your context and which might even be shared more broadly amongst those who are engaged in ministry as their vocations around the country and perhaps around the world. That's different from a research doctoral program where really you are the beneficiary and you're writing to the academy, not to other practitioners. So the benefits of a professional doctoral program like this is that the research payoff is one that you experience almost immediately within the context of your current ministry setting. So in addition to doing project-based learning, we're also offering the majority of our modules using a hybrid modality. Simply put, that means that a lot of the learning is going to happen in your home context through distributive learning technologies like Zoom, like what we're doing right now, through some online learning. And then you'll come together as a cohort 2 times a year for that learning to be solidified in person, most of the time here on the Close in Chelsea Square. And that leads us to our third model change in this program, the intensive residential style of course. The courses will have prior learning, maybe 1 or 2, maybe up to 3 weeks before the intensive convenes. You'll spend time on the Close learning, attending some seminars and lectures, engaging in structured learning activities that really draw deeply from the resources of the city and of the cohort that you're a part of. And then you'll leave and go back to your home ministry setting where the learning will continue in dialogue with your ministry context. This also involves a new approach to curriculum here, and that curriculum includes the purpose of the program, the goals of the program, the outcomes, and of course, the courses of the program. The purpose of this program is to provide experienced practitioners like yourselves with advanced, integrative, and relevant continuing ministry education that fosters spiritual vitality in both you, the leader, and in your ministry setting. So let me break this down a little bit. It is the student, the ideal student, is one who's been engaged in ministry at least 3 years and who has some firsthand knowledge of the challenges and the joys and the struggles of contemporary ministry today. The program is oriented toward the most recent research done in spirituality and in leadership and so forth, but it's taught in a way that is designed to integrate what you're learning in the classroom and online and in your reading and in your research with the kinds of challenges that you face in your ministry setting. And the goal of the program, or the purpose of this program, is to nurture a spiritual vitality within yourself, but not just for yourself, but in a way that also contributes to the health of your ministry setting. So there are 4 goals that we have for the program. First, we want students to be intellectually renewed through advanced theological study. The courses are offered in a way that draw deeply from the tradition and are going to be academically challenging for students in the program. Secondly, by integrating classroom learning with your own ministry experience and your own ministry context, we believe that students will be equipped with new skills, the kinds of advanced ministry skills that you need in order to survive and indeed to thrive in the changing ministry environment. Thirdly, we want students to be able to connect meaningfully with peers and mentors and coaches in a cohort-based learning environment. When we were doing research on this program several years ago, one of the consistent findings that we discovered when interviewing alumni and other stakeholders was a frequently shared sentiment that ministry today is a really lonely and isolating vocation. And we want to provide opportunities for students to break out of that isolation and to learn together and to grow together. And related to that, we want students to come away from this program feeling restored, spiritually nourished, and able to engage meaningfully with the spiritual nourishment of their home parishes as well. There are 4 learning outcomes that are associated with the 4 program goals, and they are listed here. At the end of this program, when all the coursework and the final project are all completed, we believe that students will have developed a theology of ministry, which is informed by both critical reflection on practice as well as advanced theological research. We hope that students will be able to step back a little bit from the current practice of ministry that they're engaged in, and to analyze that practice critically and creatively. Related to that, we hope that students will be able to assess, evaluate, and then subsequently deepen their skills as ministry practitioners. That they will be able to discriminate between a variety of ministry practices and settings as informed by engagement with diverse ministry settings. This is really the benefit of the cohort-based peer learning, being able to connect with other practitioners and compare and contrast the kinds of challenges in ministry that you and your fellow cohort members might experience. And finally, to develop the skills, the habits, and the practices that support your own ongoing spiritual growth as a public Christian leader. So what are some of the courses that you'll be taking in this degree program? We have identified 6 courses, 3 of which will be regarded as elective courses. The first course that meets in June of 2020 is Spiritual Leadership, which focuses on the challenge of leadership today and how one nurtures a healthy spiritual life within oneself and within one's community. Theories of Change explores through the lens of the notion of the resurrection, the changing reality of organizational leadership today, especially within the Christian ministry context. The third course in June 2021, Sacred City and Sacred Spaces, uses the city of New York as a laboratory and exposes students to a wide range of sacred spaces within the city in order to inspire students to go home and to think about how their own ministry is enacted differently and distinctively in the sacred spaces that they steward in their home contexts. The fourth course, Bible, Arts, and Justice, explores the contemporary issues of justice through the dual lenses of the biblical story and contemporary arts, similar to Sacred City and Sacred Spaces, which will engage deeply with the resources of the city of New York. Bible, Arts, and Justice, on that course, students will tour museums, have viewings at galleries, engage broadly with the arts culture here at New York while they're on their residential intensive. The fifth course, Preaching for Transformation, is an advanced course on homiletics as well as other forms of contemporary proclamation. It's assumed that most of you will have many years of preaching experience, but this is an opportunity to deepen, to refine, and to collaborate with one another in a way that enhances and deepens your preaching. And that's been scheduled in June 2022, ahead of a new program year for the church, with the hope that this will support your preaching in the year ahead. And finally, our sixth course and sixth elective is a pilgrimage to South Africa in the footsteps of Desmond Tutu, led by Professor Michael Battle here at the seminary, and that's in January 2023. A number of other electives have been planned for those 3 elective spots in June 21, January 22, and January 23, ranging from courses that engage with environmental stewardship and eco-theology, thinking about urban green spaces through a theological lens, to courses that are engaged with issues in decoloniality and trauma theory. So there'll be a wide range of courses that are available to students for those elective slots, but they're currently under development. The faculty that we are developing or that we are cultivating for this new degree program are drawn from a wide range of scholars and practitioners, priests and artists and pastors and authors and innovators and teachers and researchers and coaches. We want to present to you the kind of faculty that can help you develop your skills and deepen your knowledge, as well as those who can help nurture community and engage in help you engage in spiritual renewal. And I'm really pleased today that I can introduce you to one of our new faculty people on this program. It's the Reverend Dr. Hillary Raining, who is joining me today. Hey, Hillary.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too.
Thank you.
I'm sure they're really glad for a break from a pretty dry PowerPoint presentation. And Hillary is our Associate Director of the D.Min program, and she'll be teaching spiritual leadership as well as the Preaching for Transformation course. So Hillary, I'd love for you to introduce yourself a little bit to our enormous online audience.
Hello, out in cyberspace. Hi, I'm Hillary Raining. I am delighted to be a part of this new endeavor here at General. What excites me most about it is it blends, as you've been saying, so much of the best modern scholarship in all of these areas, but also asks us to tap into who we are and to say, what is the actual spark that we have been given in our context and as people of faith, so that we don't leave ourselves checked out of this, but in fact, we put ourselves all the way in. Wow. So different than so many other models I've seen out there, which are, they focus more instead on how can we take ourselves out of it so we make a nice research project instead of actually saying what's going to change the world for God. And so that's something I'm really excited about.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We're so lucky to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
And just for you all to know, in this program, you'll be engaging in lots of different modalities. As far as the spiritual leadership course itself, you'll be engaging body, mind, and spirit to really delve deep into who you are as a spiritual leader, beyond just CEO models, beyond just pastoral care models, but who you are as a spiritual leader. And then in our Preaching for Transformation class, you'll be asked to draw from your well of wisdom and to find new modalities of preaching as well. So we're going to really run the gamut with a lot of this.
Great. Wow, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm here for questions so I can help.
She'll stick around for questions, and in the meantime, I'll get back to the boring PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hillary.
Sure.
As I mentioned before, Reverend Dr. Michael Battle, scholar, priest, author, and speaker, will teach the course on the footsteps of Desmond Tutu, the South Africa travel pilgrimage. The Reverend Dr. April Stace, who is a scholar, musician, coach, pastor, author, and our affiliate professor of pastoral theology here at seminary, will teach the second required course on theories of change. April Stace, Dr. Stace, is also a certified coach and is providing coaching, individualized coaching to all of our students as part of the program, which incidentally is a real distinctive of the program, and we'll talk a little bit more about that toward the end of this presentation. Reverend Dr. Kevin Maroney, our associate professor in the H. Boone Porter Chair of Liturgics, who's a priest, a liturgist, a scholar, and an author, will teach the course on the sacred city and sacred space, where students are engaged in learning about sacred architecture here in the city and how that relates to their home context. Reverend Dr. Julie Faith Parker, who is our associate professor for biblical studies, a scholar, a minister, a teacher, and an author, is teaching the course on the Bible, Arts, and Justice, which explores issues of contemporary justice through the lenses of scripture and contemporary arts. We also have Dr. Timothy Snyder joining us, who will teach our 4-course sequence on research methods, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. He's a scholar, a researcher, a writer, and an experienced learning designer as well. And I'm also teaching on the program. I'm Michael DeLashmutt. I'm the academic dean here at the seminary, and scholar, researcher, and program architect, I suppose would be the title that I could choose for this program. So let's conclude the presentation by talking a little bit about what you can expect from this unique and new degree program, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. So the first thing, as I just mentioned, is what sets this program apart from just about every other Doctor of Ministry program is the offer of individualized coaching. It's not at all uncommon for a Doctor of Ministry program to provide academic advising, and there certainly is going to be that, especially as your program develops and your research interests mature. You're going to need to have access to mentors and advisors who can help shape and guide your individualized research. But the limitation of only having advising is it tends to just focus on that one project, whereas coaching is a much more holistic approach to working with you and as you develop as a spiritual leader as a result of this program. Everyone will have access to a coach, a near unlimited access to the coach who will be the Reverend Dr. April Stace. So other distinctives of the program, I like to think of this as painting a Doctor of Ministry by numbers. And so this is an easy way to remember some of the unique characteristics of this program. First, as I've mentioned already, there are 6 courses. That is to say, the courses will meet twice a year over 3 years. There are 3 required courses, which include the spiritual leadership, theories of change, and preaching for transformation. The other 3 courses are elective courses that will include these 3, the Bible, Arts, and Justice, Sacred City, and the Desmond Tutu Pilgrimage, but will also include other courses that specialize in other content areas. And one of the really nice things about being among being part of this first cohort is as your research interests develop, you'll be able to contribute to the ideas for new electives that we can offer here at the seminary. Each course will be, each of these 6 courses is offered at 4 credits, which means that there will be about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of prior learning before the session meets, and with no more than probably 10 hours per week of coursework. You'll have the week-long residential intensive, and then following that, about 8 to 12 weeks of study in your own home context. And each course will result in probably around 40 pages of written work and up to 4,000 pages of reading. That's a lot of reading, I know. It does work out to about a book a week. This is an advanced doctoral program, and it is going to require a lot of effort, but I can assure you that the effort is going to definitely be worth it. And the thing to bear in mind about these papers or projects that are the summative assessments for each of these 6 courses, these projects can certainly be instrumental in helping shape your final project as well. So our goal is to help you to identify areas of interest that reflect your current vocation or maybe where you'd like to head, so that all of the work that you do for this course can relate to real issues in your home environment. Each residential intensive will involve 5 days on the close. We imagine that students will arrive Sunday night, leave Friday, possibly after lunch. Sessions will be more or less 8:30 to 5 o'clock Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to noon on Fridays. Sessions will be designed to facilitate an active and experiential learning, so you won't just simply be sitting down in a class being lectured at for 8 hours a day. I know that if you're like me, you get to a certain age, and the idea of sitting down for 8 hours in an uncomfortable chair, especially in a warm June day in New York, is probably not your idea of a great way to spend a June. So we certainly are going to have a lot of content delivered and engaged with during these times, but we also want to make sure that students have both free time to reflect and connect with their neighbors, with their fellow cohort members, enjoy the resources of New York City, and of course engage in the regular rhythms of morning prayer, evening prayer, and Eucharist here at the Chapel of the Good Shepherd. There will be 4 online support tutorials that will be offered as part of the doctoral research methods curriculum. These will be offered in September and May, starting the 1st September. So you'll do your June intensive this June, and your first doctoral research methods course will be offered in September. These will be probably 3 to 4 week long asynchronous courses, which means that you'll be able to learn at your own pace. And these will help you to be introduced to advanced doctoral level research and resources, especially how to do this at some distance from the seminary using our growing and expanding collection of electronic resources. The second course will help you develop a topic for research, which by this point, you probably will already have an inkling at what you'd like to study for your summative project. How to design a research model engaging in a variety of research methodologies. And finally, and quite distinctively to this program, how to start thinking about turning this dissertation into a book even before it's written. We would like it if the students in our program were able to think about publication really from the outset. It's a lot of work to write one of these projects or these dissertations, and we would love for you to think about a broader audience as you're engaging in the research and writing of your project from the very beginning. You have 3 years to complete the coursework, or rather I should say it takes 3 years to research to complete the coursework, and some students may be able to begin the research project earlier and could begin the research project as soon as the 2nd year. So some students may be able to complete the entire program in 3 years of part-time study, though the traditional pathway will be 3 years of coursework, that is meeting twice a year on campus, plus the 4 online courses, and then a final year, a 4th year, spent working on the research project, though you have 7 calendar years from the moment that you begin to when you submit your degree to complete the entire program. But most students should be able to complete within 4, maybe 5 years. Again, it meets twice a year, June and January, here on the Close in Chelsea Square in the middle of Manhattan. The only exception would be the pilgrimage course, which meets in January, which would meet in South Africa. And finally, the one project. This is somewhere between 150, it says 210 here, but it's probably more like 250 pages. This is research driven, but ministry focused, and it contributes to the practice of ministry in your home ministry context. Now, finally, the kind of concrete dates here and details. Our first cohort will meet here in New York City, starting with at 8:30 in the morning on Monday, June 15th. And we'll study that entire week together here, and we'll be with Hillary, who will lead our course on spiritual leadership. The second class then will meet January the 11th through the 15th, 2021, and we'll keep that pattern going for the duration of the program, where we meet that week in June and that week in January for the next 3 years. Second cohort will begin in June 2021, and the tuition is currently our introductory rate is $6,000 per year. That's assuming that you take the 2 hybrid intensive courses plus 1 or 2 of the research methods courses per year. There is some financial aid available, and if you're interested in the program, please navigate to gts.edu/apply now to start an application. We've already received several applications and have admitted a few other students, and we have every intention of filling up this cohort. We're capping it at 15, and so if there are more than 15 applicants, I'm afraid you'll have to defer until 2021. So that is what I have now for content. I'm going to stop screen sharing and bring up the chat window and invite Hillary to come back to join me as we field some questions here before our end. Okay, so let's see here what I've got from my questions. Let's see. Will we provide a summary email or a document of all of this information? Yes, we definitely will. If you can make sure that Logan has all of your details, we will email that to you when this is completed, and it'll just take a couple of days. Let's see. Okay. A few folks asked. So reading will average about 750 pages per class. It really depends. There will be some classes that will require quite a bit more than 750 pages. We are talking probably closer to a book per week, and that seems to be standard. So it's probably going to be quite closer to 4,000 pages per class. So it's a lot, but one of the skills of graduate work is learning what to skim.
Yeah.
and
what's on the list for retirement purposes. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. What else? Can I clarify on the time?
Michael, can I say something about that?
Please. Yes.
The other nice thing is your instructors, by and large, are also coming from these practical areas. So they'll be available to help you navigate through all the reading, all the writing, to find the really salient points that will help you in your research as well. So you're not alone in all of that.
And you can do it. It's a lot of work, but you can definitely do it, and it's worth doing. And you have 3 years to complete the coursework, up to 7 years total to complete the whole program. It's very doable, and it's an important credential to earn, isn't it?
No question. I have found in my own life, especially as a woman in ministry, and it has been so helpful to find myself able to be at certain tables and in certain rooms in conversation where I know I wouldn't have been able to without that credential. Wow. So it's the fact of the church, right? That we're building towards equality, but these sorts of degree programs really do help to make a justice piece.
And we have a question about the South Africa pilgrimage. That will be an actual pilgrimage. One of the benefits of this program is that almost all of you will have to travel here anyway. And although South Africa is a long way away from New York, we would expect students to travel to South Africa to join Professor Battle on that pilgrimage. It's a pilgrimage that he's led with some of our master's degree students here, as well as from other seminaries in the past, and so he has a well-developed curriculum. But of course, we also understand that can be a financial burden for a lot of people. Yeah. And so we've developed some really exciting alternative elective courses that will be offered here at the seminary.
Right. The other nice thing to remember is the ability to go on pilgrimage as an offering will really bond you with your fellow students in a way that for my D.Min work was really critical. Some of my best colleagues in ministry came through that time of pilgrimage.
Yeah. And there is financial aid available, and so that it will be at a first come, first served basis. So we definitely encourage students to start their applications now so that they can be considered for financial aid. I want to discuss a little bit about how we developed this program. We spent about a year doing some deep listening with our alumni in particular, and we found that among our alumni and the broader audience as well, that the things that they were looking for in the program were opportunities for connection, opportunities for spiritual renewal, and opportunities for further guided advanced study. And we took this to heart and looked at our unique place in the theological education ecosystem and the needs and desires of our alumni. And we developed a program that we think really responds to that, particularly through these 4 learning goals of connecting, of renewing, of equipping, and restoring.
I'll just jump in there too. The beautiful piece of the coaching element with this program that does set this program apart also speaks to all of those different areas of need. And on top of that, I know many people out there who are spending a lot of money on coaching. This, you get both in one. You get this advanced degree work and you get the coaching, which to me, I think checks all those boxes that especially people who responded to our survey really talked about.
That's right. It's the Swiss Army knife of Doctor of Ministry
What
programs.
do you need? We got it.
We got it. Are there any other questions out there? If not, I want to be mindful of time. I know all of you have busy schedules. And we'll be available to answer questions via email. So please reach out to us online. Yes, I have a question here. Just as I'm wrapping up, thank you, Alex.
A good one.
A good one, yes. A question about housing. For students who are interested in the program, we can give you a listing of a number of housing options here in the city, including Leo House, which is a Roman Catholic guest house just a couple of blocks away. There may be some limited housing here on the Close as well, but that is still under development. But for this first cohort, we definitely encourage you to look at some of the options that we have nearby in the city. Well, that is now our time. And again, thank you so much for spending 30 minutes with us here to learn about this program. And we look forward to seeing you all in June for this first cohort. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye all.